Hey guys, how you doing? Hopefully you're doing okay. I'm going to read through the full article. I believe there's a link in the description. We're also going to provide the link to the GoFundMe in question, which has reached an amazing amount, $1.8 million. That's amazing. I'm going to think that that's perhaps one of the highest GoFundMe's ever, but you know, that's not really the major point of this situation. The more serious point is that a young 2-year-old boy, his name is Aiden McCarthy, he's lost both his mother and his father. He's been orphaned by the shooting that occurred in Highland Park, Illinois, July the 4th, where I believe 7 people died. It was listed as 6 fatalities. I believe it's now increased to 7, and the shooter is arrested. He's now facing charges for 7 counts of first-degree murder. So it is an absolute tragedy, but I would say that there is some blessing that the young man will, and his family, his I believe his grandparents are looking after him. I may have that wrong, but there is some blessing that he will have a nest egg to see him through financially. But let's have a look at the details, and if you do like the content, please do like, comment, subscribe, share the video as you see fit. A 2-year-old boy found bloodied and alone during the Highland Park shooting. He was lifted from underneath his father. His father was shot and killed. Presumably fell on top of young Aiden. Aiden is now an orphan after both of his parents were killed in the attack. Aiden McCarthy lost his mother, Irina McCarthy, and father, Kevin McCarthy, after being separated from them during the chaos of Monday's shooting. So here are the victims, Irina and Kevin McCarthy, 2 of the 7 fatalities within the Highland Park, Illinois shooting, July the 4th, 2022. A GoFundMe page was established to help Aiden's family with raising, caring for, and supporting him. The account has raised now $1.8 million. And yes, he's been placed in the care of his grandparents, Misha and Nina Lievbeg. At least 7 people were killed and dozens more were injured after 21-year-old shooter Robert Cremo III opened fire on the Independence Day parade with an AR-15 style weapon. He's been charged with 7 counts of first-degree murder. More charges are likely to follow. He faces life in prison, and he deserves no less. We're going to read through some of the details pertaining how Aiden survived, how he was rescued and looked after. So I guess we'll put in place a trigger warning at this point. Aiden was kept safe during the tragic shooting by complete strangers. Here's a quote from the lady that organized the GoFundMe. "We took him to safety under tragic circumstances. We came together to locate his grandparents and prayed for the safety of his family." Here he is, Aiden. Here's a shot of the aftermath. Absolutely horrific. Aiden was found by Lauren Silver, 38 years of age, and her boyfriend after they heard gunshots as they were heading to breakfast at a local restaurant. Lauren Silver said that they emerged from a parking garage a few blocks away from the shooting just as the violence began to unfold. Here's a quote from Lauren Silver. "We were just opening the door to walk up the stairs and we heard it. Boom, 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 boom. And it sounded like someone was like pounding on the glass doors." Lauren Silver and her boyfriend and his son began running towards those that were injured, when suddenly her boyfriend thrusted the little boy, Aiden, into Lauren Silver's arms. Here's a quote from Lauren Silver. "My boyfriend handed me this little boy and said he was underneath this father who was shot in the leg. They were trying to stop the bleeding, so I brought the boy downstairs into the garage. Once inside the garage, Lauren Silver managed to clean out Aiden's scrapes and wash the blood off of him. He was wearing one shoe and his sock was covered in blood. He kept asking if mom and dad are going to come back soon. Lauren Silver, the lady that helped rescue Aiden, or take him to safety, keep him safe, Lauren Silver re-emerged from the parking garage after 20 minutes to see how the father was doing. She handed Aiden off to a family she was hunkering down in the garage with, who took him to the hospital and later handed him to the police. He was eventually reunited with his grandparents. So it is a blessing, of course, that he is able to be reunited with his grandparents. But what a tragedy. His father seemingly shot in the leg, but he passed. His mother was also shot and killed. Aiden McCarthy and Kevin McCarthy. So it's such a tragic story, as I say. Young Aiden has been orphaned by this scumbag, the shooter, Robert Cremo III. This guy who makes weird videos. He thinks he's a rapper. He had mental health issues when he was 16, I believe. Yet he was legally allowed to buy these weapons, I believe. I've not looked into it super closely, but those are the headlines that I've seen. We could even have a look at this quickly. Here it is. Highland Park shooter Robert Cremo is charged with 7 counts of first-degree murder. He was interviewed by cops twice in 2019 after he threatened to kill everybody. He had 16 knives, daggers, and a sword confiscated, but he was never arrested. I've not read through this article, but it does state within the headline alone that red flags were raised and they were identified by the authorities, by the FBI or whomever else. The FBI had some level of understanding about this guy, some level of monitoring of him. Yet it wasn't enough. And I'm not saying that as a criticism of the FBI or of the police. Maybe it ought to be a criticism. But, I think it's unreasonable to expect perfection. These guys aren't mind readers. It's not, we don't have the Minority Report technology yet. But at the same time, it does seem like a lost opportunity to have perhaps monitored this guy more closely. Certainly, in hindsight, I would have thought he ought not have been allowed to purchase guns legally. But what are you going to do? Are you going to how much on an individual's life ought the FBI infringe? People have got personal rights. Don't get me wrong. I mean, what I'm saying is that what were the FBI going to do? They don't know. They didn't know, of course, that this guy, Robert Cremo, would turn out to be a mass murderer. That would enact what I would consider an act of domestic terrorism. They didn't know that. If they knew that, of course he'd, be dealt with. But they didn't know that. They just knew he was a troubled young man, a troubled weirdo. What are they going to do? They can't incarcerate people just for being troubled, unfortunately. I don't really know what my point is here. I feel like I'm waffling a little bit. But this number 447 on his car, and there's other references to 47. He posted this tweet, I guess it is, 47, 47, 47. So that's a reference to the date of the July the 4th. So he's telling the world and his local community in a very cryptic way that he has plans for July the 4th. But again, nobody can unravel these cryptic clues. We're just not capable of that. You can't unravel this and state, okay, we must arrest this guy because we feel he's going to do something, it's not really feasible, is it? There he is. I think I'm guessing here that he's dressed as a woman. Am I right? I could be wrong. And I think there's been mention that he dropped something in the aftermath of the shooting. He dropped something. He was seen dropping something, but we don't know what that is. Again, I've not actually looked through this article that much. Here's a family photo. Here's the mother. I've seen a video where she's acted very angrily to the police, the authorities that are rightfully investigating their property. There's Aiden. I've gone on a bit of a waffle here, haven't I? I didn't mean to. So I'm going to wrap things up at this point, guys. So this video really is about Aiden, a 2-year-old boy who had his both parents taken away. He's been orphaned. But again, thankfully, he is able to be housed and loved and supported, nurtured by his grandparents. You know, he's lucky to have that as an opportunity. Not everyone would. And then in addition to that, I mean, really, ultimately, this is kind of trivial in a way. It's kind of not trivial in a way and kind of trivial in a way. He has received a particularly large GoFundMe, $1.8 million. Perhaps that will exceed $2 million. It certainly looks like it will. And that's going to go a long way to support him financially. That's going to go a very long way to support him financially. So, I mean, is it a... I'll say the word congratulations, but I know that's just not really right. It is a good thing, though, that he has that financial support. But at the same time, it pales into insignificant in regards to the loss that he's faced. Both of his parents. And, of course, the loss that the parents have faced. They've lost their lives. 7 fatalities. So, this scumbag really deserves everything he gets. Seemingly it's going to be life in prison, not the death penalty. And you know, what else can I say? I guess we could say, if we're going to be cynical about things, which isn't the worst thing to be, what's going to happen with the next one that happens? I mean, there was actually 2 mass shooting events on July the 4th. And as I'm going to make another video separately, there's been at least 71 shot over the July the 4th weekend in Chicago alone. And that's not including the Highland Park incident. You know, and we could refer to the number of mass shootings there's been this year, even last year. This 71 shooting victims is actually significantly lower than it was last year. It was more than 100 people shot over July 4th weekend last year in Chicago. So it's absolutely crazy. It's going to continue. It's not about to stop. You're going to have, forgive me for saying this, but you're going to have more orphans. You're certainly going to have more children that lose their parents. A parent. It's going to continue to happen, and it will likely happen every single weekend. Or every single week, rather. Multiple times a week. So, I don't know, man. I've gone on a bit of a dark bend there. I didn't really mean to, but I have. So, if you do like the content, if this has been a good topic to cover, please do like, comment, subscribe, share the video as you see fit. And if you like me, if you get a little bit down from these subjects, I mean, sometimes they really hit me. But I seem to bounce back from it pretty quickly. I've got a very... I think I've got a very chirpy disposition. I wouldn't say a very positive disposition, because I do have a natural tendency to focus on the negative and the, you know, like the dark and the sinister. I've got an extremely dark view on life, which has developed particularly over the last couple of years. Not purposefully. I feel that I've got my eyes open and I see what's out there, and it's not fucking good. But But despite that, I typically have a very chirpy disposition. I wouldn't say positive. I'm not an optimist, I'm a pessimist. So not a positive disposition, but a chirpy one nonetheless. And sometimes these topics knock the chirpiness out of me. And if that happens to you as well, if it brings you down, then stop watching the videos. It's okay, you can go away, you don't have to watch every single one, of course. But you know, of course, I value your support and your encouragement, your encouraging words, etc. But sometimes you need to step away. And sometimes I need to step away, and that's perfectly fine, guys. So look, I'm going to wrap things up here. Take care, guys. Thanks.